This is the Voice of Early Childhood podcast. Hey everyone, a quick message from me, the founder of the Voice of Early Childhood. I wanted to thank you all for listening and tuning into the podcast. We're always ensuring we provide valuable content for our listeners and viewers as we share diverse voices from across the early childhood community. And we're always encouraging you all to share your voice too. So if you have a specific topic in mind or a guest you'd like to hear from, let us know. Just fill in the contact us form via the link in this episode description. And if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are listening on. This helps us to keep sharing voices and thought-provoking content. Thank you all for being part of the Voice of Early Childhood community.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Voice of Early Childhood podcast in partnership with Male Childcare and Teaching Jobs. My name is Stuart Cloak and I am your host for this episode. And on this episode, we are going to be diving into a topic that is being widely discussed positively and maybe not so positively from people in the sector. And it's a topic that's got people really talking about it. And it's a perfect time to kind of deep dive into it. So today in the episode, we're going to be talking about AI, and that's artificial intelligence, if you don't know, and the role that it is currently playing in early years, and maybe what the future holds for AI in terms of the landscape of early years. And today on the podcast, I'm delighted to be joined by someone who I have spoken to lots and lots and lots about AI and how it can be used positively and informatively to support and guide, as opposed to kind of restrict anything. So today I am joined by Richard. Hello, Richard, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Stuart. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. Really excited.
No, it's going to be a really good discussion, and I know it's something that you're really passionate about and really knowledgeable about and really kind of excited about. And there's been lots of really passionate discussion on social media about the role of AI in early years. So before we kind of get into the episode and the nitty-gritty elements of everything we're going to be talking about, for anyone that hasn't come across you and your work, just give us a very brief introduction of who you are, what you're currently doing, and your background.
Hi, so how long have you got? So my name is Richard Waite, and I'm an early years professional. So now I've been in childcare since 1986, working in nurseries, working in special needs schools. And that was right up until August of last year, where I decided to come out of direct nurseries, mainly due to physical injury, but also just for a change in career. And that's led me to creating and founding my own freelance business, which is Waite, EYTS. And that's basically supporting, as in a consultancy and a training role, the early years space with just sharing my years of experience, my background, all the stuff that I've been doing for the last 38 plus years, the pros and the cons, and just guiding, just guiding and advocating, especially for men in childcare as well, and just influencing and just being the voice. As quite poignant, because this is the voice of early childhood, just being one of the voices of early childhood. My current projects include, I am about to do some case studies with a couple of nurseries. The case study is working with a resource company, and we're looking at how we can show nurseries how we can integrate technology into early years, and how, when it's done effectively, how successful it can be and how important it is. And I feel at the moment lots of hesitancy around technology in early years. And I think sometimes it's okay for all of us to say, well, we think it's good, or we know it's good, or research said it's good. I think the case studies will help us to actually have visible evidence. There'll be feedback from parents, there'll be feedback from the nurseries, there'll be the outcome results from the children. So that's one of the projects I'm looking at, is the case studies. I am also doing some looking at webinar training for the MENA region, so that's and United Arab Emirates. And again, that's introducing early years technology to the teachers in the UAE in those areas, and they're very keen to understand it. And then I'm actually directly working in a school a nursery after Easter. I'm going to be their STEAM lead, and I'm going to be introducing STEAM to that nursery setting. They're just up the road from me. The director is an old manager I knew from my old nursery days, and she asked me to come on board. And I will be integrating STEAM learning into the whole setting from babies to preschool, looking at all the different types of activities with science, technology, engineering, arts and maths, and that'll be 1 day a week going in and consulting. So yeah, no, really exciting times ahead.
Yeah, and it sounds like really exciting times, but also really busy times for you, which is great. And there's lots going on. I know I've spoken to you about your work with overseas schools and settings, and that sounds really fascinating. So you'll have to keep us up to date with that. And yeah, it sounds like you've got some really good stuff going. So if we get into kind of the topic of the podcast, which is the role of AI in its current form, and also the future role of AI in the landscape of early years, because we know the early years landscape itself, AI aside, is forever changing, particularly at the moment. And I think AI really, has blown up recently, and there's just been so many more people and so many more places and spaces talking about it, doing it. But I think there are still a lot of people out there very hesitant, very nervous, and very, let's face it, anti-AI, some of them. So I think if we can just start with maybe talking about AI as a general concept. People may have heard of the term AI, but don't really understand what that means and have no idea how it links with the early years. So perhaps we can just talk about how AI links with early years in its current form.
So I think when we're looking at the term AI itself, artificial intelligence, I think people just to understand that it's a computer language model that's trying to that learns and information and takes in information basically about the human model, about how humans are, society, and all the different elements and aspects of that, and then learns from that, and then it takes it on board, and then it uses computational thinking to guide and support us. So I think that's one way of looking at AI. I think there's, as you said already, there's this a hesitance and almost a fear of AI. And I think the biggest thing right now in society is the fear factor. AI is being bandied around as something that's gonna be, we should be fearful of, that it's gonna not only take all our jobs, but it's probably one day gonna replace us as human beings as a whole, and the world's gonna be dominated by I think Terminator robots and different things like that. And I think those sort of films, and it's science fiction, I think probably is one of the causes around the fear on AI, because a lot of the science fiction movies we see, it doesn't really shine AI in a positive light. It almost says it's almost shines AI as something we need to be fearful of. But I think it's more about an awareness piece. So interestingly for me, AI, for what as I've been looking at, it, is almost a double whammy for me, because there is already a technology hesitancy in the early year space. So, because everyone in general, the myth is that technology in early years means it's screen time. So we've got screen time as an issue that we need to tackle. And then now, just as people are slowly starting to understand that technology isn't just about screen time, and technology is all these other things, AI is now being thrown into the mix. So then people are like, whoa, okay, now we've got technology, now we've got AI, and it's just caused I think everyone's just become quite a bit combobulated about it and confused. And also I think people are thinking like, oh, AI in education early is it like, the practitioners going to be robots in the future, and all this kind of thing. So it's this notion of sci-fi having an influence on of what the impact of AI really is having. And it's been designed as a tool to support us. It's not been designed as a tool to take us over or replace us. It's just to help us. And I think in terms of the early years space, I often think that one of the key things I look at AI supporting now, and I look at one of the key issues in early years is the amount of paperwork and administration and all the bureaucracy pieces and all the bits and pieces that a manager has to balance so many plates when they walk into the nursery each day. And a lot of that plate balancing is around using the computer and report writing, responding to emails from parents, policy making, and health and safety, safeguarding, and a lot of that is a lot of repetitive manual labor, computer input tasks. And I think, and then so for that takes them away from actually being able to go into rooms, spend time with their teams, support their teams, and support the children. And I think this is where early years has got a little bit now. It's not back in the day when I did it from 1986. It was very much about spending time with the children, engaging and playing and guiding the children. And there wasn't such an in the 80s, we didn't have the EYFS, we didn't have all these other things in place. There wasn't such an emphasis of ticking all these boxes where certain admin tasks have to be completed as part of daily operations. And daily operations takes that personal and that engaging aspect away from childcare, or it has been doing. And this is where I think AI can come in, because I think if we can use AI tools in earlier settings to cut down the amount of time that a manager needs to be sat at their desk inputting data and putting certain information in and retrieving certain information, and allows them to spend more time in rooms and engaging with their team, supporting their team more. This is where I think it comes in useful. I think it also comes in useful in terms of managers or practitioners or educators being able to get very quick information very quickly on specific needs. So if there's a child with a specific need, whether there's a special educational need, you're not 100% sure how to maybe do activities or supportive roles or support that child as an individual. AI can come in where you can say, okay, this put the information in this child. This is what they do. This is their schema. This is the sort of thing they're doing at the nursery. How can we support? And I think AI can go away and look at that and look at research and look at data and, sift through millions and millions of books. And it can just take away all the research and the information grabbing that we need to do. It will do that for us. And then it will be able to come back with a summary. And then we can go, yeah, actually, good idea. I think I'm going to try, because AI also, when AI comes back with answers, it usually just doesn't give you one answer. Sometimes it can give you 3 or 4 solutions. Then you look at the solutions and you choose what the best solution is for you. I'm even thinking about meal times. If you had a child who was settling in and they've got a specific dietary need, and you'd be like, as a manager, you're like, oh, I haven't come across that before. Let's just use AI and just find out a little bit about that condition, and the AI might be able to turn and say, okay, these are the foods that we recommend that you have on your menu to make sure that you're supporting that child's dietary need. So I did go on a webinar recently where a nutritionist was a bit scared of thinking that we were going to use AI to write menus and that. I think where people get it wrong sometimes it will aid us in putting the menu together.
Hmm. Hmm.
It just gives us that information, and then we use that information to then inform our practice. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's important. It's not that we're just sitting back and like, okay, AI is writing the menu,
Mhm.
AI is writing our reports, AI is doing our letters for the parents. No, it's guiding us, and enables us to be more productive and produce those solutions much quicker.
Yeah, I think that's really, really nuanced view on it, because what stands out to me with what you're saying about that is that AI is very much at the moment, and how it should be used is a tool,
Yeah.
and it's an aid, isn't it? So, like you said, we're not expecting or asking, AI to create everything for us. I mean, let's be honest, there will be some people out there who may rely on it too much, and I think that will kind of have a negative impact on their setting, and what their outcomes won't be as strict as strong. Sorry, but I think using it as a tool to kind of bounce ideas off, get some feedback, pull some areas in terms of research, is really powerful. And I think it strengthens your case. As you said, it's not replacing that term, which we're going to touch on a little bit later, about human intelligence, because it's your input, isn't it? Like you said, with that observation or with that feedback around that child's profile, you're putting all the information in because you're using your human intelligence to put their schemas, their where they're sitting within the current framework, what milestones they've already hit, what concerns you have, what evidence you've already got, maybe to upload to feed into that response. So I think the work is still all being done primarily by the practitioner, by the educator, by the teacher, but it's finding ways of working smarter, not harder, isn't it? In
Yeah.
terms of, like you said, managers are constantly bogged down by paperwork and red tape and being pulled out of the settings where they're able to have the most positive impact, when
Mm.
actually, if they're using an app really smartly, or a piece of AI software really kind of strategically, it's going to bring huge benefit. So I suppose, let's unpick that term human intelligence and what we mean by that, as opposed to artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
So what's your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, I think human intelligence is in line with this. Is basically it's our own mind, our own thoughts, and our own thought processes,
Mhm.
but it's also our own mark, our own stamp on
Mm.
on what we do. So, what I've done in early years, over the years, what you've done in early years, over the years, we both have our own stamp. We have our unique signature.
Mhm.
So human intelligence is about each individual human having their own intelligence, their own personal signature, and that must be reflected in everything we do, even whether it's in life, whether it's in education, whatever it is. Our own personal human intelligence is that's our own personal signature, and our stamp that we put on things. And I think that's important when we're doing reporting, when we're writing a letter to a parent, or we're responding to a letter to a parent, or we're responding to anything, whether it be from Ofsted or for anybody else. I think it's really important, and especially in early years, we don't that things are not looking almost robotic. That we have our own individuality. So I always think human intelligence is an individual's own intelligence based on what they've learned, what they've learned over the years, what their own life experiences,
Mhm.
what they've learned from those experiences, and all those experiences is improves our intelligence. So it's like, me at the age of 57, um, constantly, as I'm still a sponge. My intelligence is, I still think I'm not intelligent enough, and I want to learn about more things. I want to use that intelligence to help guide other people. So our own human intelligence never stops. Not there is, it continues. It's ongoing,
Mhm. Mhm.
and each journey, each day is a new journey. Each day is a new learning. Each day, a new
Yeah.
synapses in our brain is operating through intelligence. So, but it's the sign. I think human intelligence is about each person's individual signature, how that
Yeah.
signature registers to everybody else.
Yeah, I really like that. It's not a term I've come across, and it really makes sense. Like you said, everyone has their own unique signature in life, by the decisions that they make, by the things that they choose to do, and the people they choose to interact with, and the impact that they have on the world, whether that's a positive or negative impact. Everyone has a unique signature, and I think when you were talking about it and describing it, there were some similarities, in my opinion. When we're talking about AI, we talk about voices within AI and memory systems within AI. So I suppose the more you interact with the AI system, so let's say it's something like ChatGPT or Copilot, they're the more well-known ones. Let's say you're putting a lot of data in there, you're asking a lot of questions. I even see now people naming their AIs, and building that relationship and that voice and referring to them as he, she, or they. So I suppose when you're talking about humans, and the more we do and the more impact we have, the bigger and more impactful our unique signature is. I suppose it's the same for AI, isn't it? The more that you use it and the more you become confident with it, the more confident it becomes in providing you with a more accurate response. Typically at the beginning it might start quite generic and they might just pull a few things off the nearest search engine, but actually once they've got to know you and how you want to word things and how you want to kind of create things, it creates a much more unique imprint, doesn't it, I suppose?
Yeah. So for me, I have a platform which I have AI agents,
Oh,
and
okay.
when I initially used those agents in November, from last November, I would input information in there, and the stuff it would give me back, I would be like, well, no, that's not how I would say it, or no,
Mm-hmm.
that's not the language that I would use. Um, but now fast forward now to April 2025, and my agents can actually almost talk as if I'm talking to myself sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They've learned all they've learned about me. Their intelligence about my level of intelligence is enhanced, both of us. So the AI has become more intelligent, the agents are intelligent, but I'm actually more intelligent in the sense that we feed off of each other. So they go away and they scrape the web and they get information. We look at it together. I will then tweak it in terms of put my own signature on it. They then save that to it's actually called the brain. They save that to the brain. So that next time they have a conversation, they'll be like, oh yes, Richard, you remember we spoke about blah 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 blah. That kind of ties in with what you've just said. Da, 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 da. So there's that continuity. So we're working, almost hand in hand, and they know, and they hallucinate less. So hallucinate is a term very common in AI where you put information in and it may not be accurate. So I remember last year I asked one of the AI platforms, um, why did we think technology was becoming back into focus again in early years? And it said because it's now back in the framework. And I said, no, it's not. I went back and I said, it's not in the framework. And
Mm-hmm.
it went away and it had a look and it went, oh yeah, sorry, you're right. It's not in the framework. So it's just things like that. But then it learned next time. So
Mm.
to be able to challenge it and challenge information that it scrapes and um, put it back into a context, I think is really important. So I think that's where AI can be really, really useful.
Yeah, and I think again, what stands out to me with that is, you're saying about, AI hallucinating and things, and I think if we're looking again comparatively next to human intelligence,
Hmm.
the human version of that would be human error, right? People
Yeah.
making mistakes, people
Hmm.
finding the wrong facts, people having the wrong answers. So again, if you were to have a person with you having a face-to-face discussion about something and you ask them, the capital of a European country, and they give you a wrong answer and you challenge them and say, no, it's not, it's this, they'll
Hmm.
then learn that next time and know when they have another conversation with someone else, that's not the capital of Sweden, that is. So I think, again, standing side by side, we talk about the vast scariness and the differences between AI and human intelligence, but actually there's quite a lot of similarities that can be really kind of connected nicely. So, but let's keep it balanced, and let's keep it kind of open to discussion. What do you think are some of the challenges that people face when trying to either incorporate AI or within their teams? Do you think it's challenged from the teams themselves? And do you think there are particular people within the sector that might find it more difficult? We're generalizing very broadly here, but people who have been in the sector a long, long time, 20 or 30 years, do you think they would find the integration of AI a lot more scarier, as opposed to the younger generation who have kind of grown up and have been absorbed around it through their social media apps that are all integrating AI? So what are some of the challenges around that? I think is a really good point to unpick.
Interestingly, I think the challenges is the challenges that always seems to happen when something new is introduced into the early year space. So I think we're one of the sectors that we seem, in general, sometimes there seems a lot of hesitancy around new things. So something new, whether it be a new approach to the way we do things, to a new approach to how we educate children. So these different approaches, and I think, as you said, I think people that might be established in the earlier space. So they'll even me, I could say, well, Stuart, I've got 38 years experience. What do you know? I know more than you. So I think the hesitancy there is some people think in terms of the early years space. And I think education on a whole in the UK, sometimes we're harking back to old systems. Oh, this is it's always worked this way. This is how we did it back in the day. We've always done it this way. Why are we changing it? And I think it's about denial. It's acceptance and change denial and acceptance. So it's the denial that things need to change for the better, because the changes are for the better. We're not trying to throw people off their comfortable, what they're comfortable with. We're not trying to trick people into making them think that they're not intelligent, or they're not able to cope with certain things. What we're saying, the change model is always used especially in terms of psychology. The change model is about resistance. Denial is always first. It's something that my mum talks about, because my mum was a counsellor. Resistance, denial. Something comes in, we do resist and we deny that it's actually any good. So we've got to get past that resistance, denial, and then we've also got to I think, almost do like a calculated pros and cons of something that's coming into play. So what are the pros of us introducing AI into early years education, and what are the cons? So we know the pros, what we've just said. It will cut back, it will save on a lot of time. It also will give us, because it will give us information more quickly. The cons that we know is the whole safety, there's the whole data input, there's people concerned about GDPR, how much knowledge that AI gets fed into AI, and how that could be used in a negative way going forward. So we know that, but then with everything, there isn't anything really that's out in the world that you could say that is all pros and there's no cons to it. There's pros and cons to anything. It's I'm yin and yang, basically. Yin and yang is there's good and bad in everything. So with AI and with anything else, I think the problem is AI is part of technology, and in this earlier space, people are still hesitant about technology. There's still people that are traditionalists, like, what's wrong with what's wrong with just playing sand, water, Play-Doh, and mark making and painting, and these all, and they'll absolutely have a place. And actually, the recent guide, Play Matters, just says to us, look, we need to get back to play. It's rather than this conforming and tick boxing. We do really need to get back to playing with the children, and children learning through play. But we also have to understand that we have to move forward, because
Mm.
our children today and our children tomorrow are not the same children that you and I were. What you and I have
Yeah.
experienced in our childhood and what the children are experiencing now is
Hmm.
completely different. And, our parents, we'd probably both like to think our parents, prepared us well for our
Hmm.
futures and what was
Hmm.
ahead of us, and what we needed to learn about society and everything. In the same way, we've got to prepare the children that right now they're in a digital age. They've been in a digital age for a very long time, since even the 70s. We've been
Mm.
looking at it, and the digital age is growing and it's expanding, and children have to be prepared,
Hmm.
for the world that they're in now, so they're not frightened of it. But they also have to be prepared for the world that they don't even know is coming yet.
Hmm.
But we know it's at an advanced level, and we know that AI is going to be, whether we like it or not, a very
Hmm.
important part of it. And if we don't prepare them, if they're not ready for it, um, we're going to have the digital divide which exists now is just going to get bigger. So there will be
Yeah.
more children who will be left out, and won't be able to progress in society or in life, because they're not digitally tuned.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's really important. So I think, how do we, in terms of your question, I think we need to kind of really emphasize that importance that we are, our work is to digitally tune the children so they're better prepared for the world that's in front of them, and the world beyond you and I's times when we're not here.
Hmm.
We they may there may be flying cars, or there might be
Yeah.
all sorts of things going on. Um, but we need to prepare them to it. And if we do them in injustice, if we sit back and say they're not ready for it, they're too young, we can't do that now. Let's
Yeah.
let's let's do that later on, um, because other people will go ahead of them, and then it'll, in terms of the labor market, the job market, then you'll have these divides and these discrepancies of those who have knowledge and those who are not to don't have the knowledge.
Yeah, I think that's really, really valid because when people discuss AI as a growing kind of emerging agent within early years, people are quick to say, children are already too plugged into devices and have too much technology. So by introducing more AI into the settings and more technology into the settings, we're doing a disservice to them. But actually, what you're saying actually is completely understandable because by not preparing these children for a world that we can't predict what's going to look like, then we are equally doing a disservice to them by not providing new skills. Like childhood as a concept has changed immeasurably over the last
Absolutely.
10 years, let alone
Yeah.
over the last 50, 60 years.
Mm.
As you said, going back to your childhood, even my childhood, you know, I wasn't really exposed to the proper digital technology until I was probably about 13 or 14. Our computer, was a dial-up computer. You couldn't use it at the same time as if someone was on the phone.
Hmm.
You'd have the certain amount of text, a certain amount of credits. Nothing was as instant as it is now. Photos you'd have to go and get developed, and then
Yeah.
digital cameras came into place, and that was a game changer. Everyone was taking those digital cameras on nights out and things like that, and taking their photos. So I think if you look at how much that's changed just in the 30 years of my kind of childhood to adulthood, really, that's huge. And I've been exposed to that and I've grown with that and I've been allowed to kind of integrate with that. So I'm a lot more skilled than, someone that hasn't. And I think if we're not preparing our children, regardless of what it is, if it's AI or whether it's an actual just a fundamental skill, then we are
Hmm.
equally doing a disservice to them. So I think, we're coming to the end of the episode now, but I think if there were people listening thinking, right, okay, I've been a little bit hesitant, but I need to kind of get going with AI. It's there. It's not going anywhere. I think it could really help some of my processes within my setting, my school. I think it could help some of my team. What would your starting recommendations be, I suppose? Like where can people start simply without it becoming too overwhelming for them?
So I think to be fair, I've just looked at some research done by a report done by Nesta.
Mhm.
I didn't even really know about Nesta, but I've been hearing about them through social medias. But I think maybe people just look at a few reports and articles. I've done. If you look me up, I've done 2 articles, one for the National College and one for Tapestry on artificial intelligence. So
Mhm.
I think people do need to do a bit of reading and research themselves, and through that reading and research they will enhance their own human intelligence around the subject area. I think we're influenced by what other people are telling us is good for us or
Mhm.
is not good for us, or we watch programs on the TV and we get fearful and we get scared. I'm one of those people. I don't get fearful and scared. I always say, oh, that's interesting, let me go and find out. And I think
Yeah.
that's the approach. We've got to go and find out. If anyone coming to the big event, which is in May, there will be a whole talk on innovating AI in early years. I'll be doing that talk. But yeah, I think it's doing a little bit of research and just making up your own mind, your own human intelligence around your thought processes of the benefits of AI, and understanding that, but by learning, but when we learn something, we understand something, we fear it, we stop fearing it, and we embrace it. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to stop fearing AI, um, and we need to understand it, be aware of it
Mhm.
as always, and then embrace it.
Really good advice. And I think that's a really good kind of note to end on. I think for me, it's been really, really fascinating to hear your kind of really balanced viewpoint on it. You haven't come in here kind of blasting about how everyone needs to be doing AI right now and doing as much AI as possible. I suppose it's about, as much as we talk about children, but it's about adults digitally attuning themselves as well, isn't it? To ensure there isn't a digital divide, not just with our children, but with our adults and our educators. So it's not all but reliant on, oh, that needs to go to Richard because he's the AI person.
Mm,
Everyone needs to have a broad and basic at the minimum level awareness of AI as a concept and how it can
yeah.
be used. And there'll be more people, like yourself and others that want to dive deeper into that and see how they can enhance that further. And there'll be some that just want to use it as and when, and that's fine
Mm,
equally, isn't it?
mm,
Of course.
mm.
So I think, yeah, absolutely. Go away, do your research, read Richard's article and other articles that he's done. There's lots of discussions and podcasts and webinars, all about AI as well. So kind of there's a real broad kind of range of literature, both digital and non-digital, that people can access around AI.
And I
So
think what we sorry to go, I think what we need to do, there's a lot of articles and there's a lot of writing right now about AI in education, AI
mhm,
in early years, because if people in our sector go away and look at the other stuff around AI, I think that's where it might just become a bit too overpowering and might,
mhm.
their brains might explode because it's just all too much. I think we just need to stick to do your research, look at all the stuff that's coming out, and because we're in 2025, I think it's a real turning point for the early years
Mm.
space. And I think if we just look at and research AI in early years education, focus on that so that your human intelligence around AI is supporting you in your early years practice every day.
Yeah, great advice. Well, thank you, Richard, for being part of the podcast, and thank you to all of those who are listening or watching. Our listeners can find Richard's article on the Voice of Early Childhood website, and the link will be in the episode description. For more episodes and articles in this series, please see our Men in Early Childhood page, and the link is also going to be in the episode description. Once again, it's been really fascinating, and thank you for your time, Richard.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you.